Hello, I am Barendipitous, back at the TTRPG shelf, and I have a few things I wanted to sort of combine into this video here, just because some of these I don't have as much to talk about. First of all, on my actual D&D bookshelf, I have these. I use these to sort of separate the the sort of like source books from the adventures. And so, yeah, these are both basically Dungeon Master screens. Quad fold has a bunch of sort of like helpful like helpful information at a glance. This is the very first one. Has this really so this is my oldest one that I have. Has this really cool image of a bunch of adventurers trying to defeat this dragon. I forgot the dragon's name, but and then the dragon has like a kobold army helping him out. But by my understanding, this arrow, this red tipped arrow here, was made specifically to kill this dragon. And you can see that the dragon has like a scar across its face and everything. So kind of like Smug in The Hobbit. I think a similar thing is going on here. And then this is a newer one that I got because the information on the inside has been updated a little bit. Um, the information is a little bit more it's like easier to read, and also the picture in the front is pretty cool as well. A dragon flying away from a city of devastation. There's not very much to the rest of the image this time. It's kind of just focused on the front part, which is fine because Dungeon Master screens are usually folded out kind of like this. With sort of like these two in the front and the other panels on the side, which are so they're not seen as much by the players. So anyway, I do have some other Dungeon Master screens, but those are the main ones I have. But yeah, I want to talk about these two adventures. Basically, I will say first of all, the very first adventure that was written for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition is not one of these two. It was It was two-part adventures, two books. The first was, I believe it was, oh gosh, I believe it was called Horde of the Dragon Queen, and the other one was the first half was the whole story was called Tyranny of Dragons, and the first half was called Horde of the Dragon Queen, and the second half was called Rise of Tiamat. I don't have a copy of either of those books because I never really had much of an interest to run it. I've played it. I've gone through the adventure as a player, but it's my understanding that because it was the first adventure, it wasn't written or laid out in the books very well. I didn't think I would. I didn't think that just having the books would justify the purchase in that particular case. Because I didn't think I would run it. I didn't really care that much about the adventure. I have this, Princes of the Apocalypse, I believe was the next one, where basically you have 4 elemental cults, one each for the 4 elements, fire, earth, air, and water. And they're all trying to end the world with their respective element, essentially. And so this adventure kind of goes through you trying to thwart all of them. I've never run this adventure. I've never played in this adventure. So what I've just told you is kind of all I know about it. Uh, I will admit. But I think I did use a couple of like maps in here just for like the dungeon itself, for like maybe some homebrew stuff or whatever. But yeah, I do love the concept of trying to just trying to save the world essentially like 4 times, like multiple times. And there are actually some player options here. Genasi are like elemental humanoids essentially, and I believe there are some spells in here too, some more elemental spells. So there is that. But I really want to talk about this, Out of the Abyss. My very first Dungeons and Dragons sessions ever was from this adventure. I went to a local store that was doing like walk-in D&D basically, and I went in with my friends, and for about 3 sessions we played through like sort of the beginning of this. The group was too big though. There was like 10 players in the group, and it was ridiculous. Usually you don't want more than like 6 players in a group. So me and my friends decided to sort of break off from that store group and start our own, and I became the dungeon master for the group, and we did a really cool homebrew campaign, and the rest is history. But Out of the Abyss essentially is you go into it's basically an Underdark adventure. The Underdark is the deep, 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 deep underground, and essentially, and the idea is that these demon lords are escaping from their from the Abyss, which is separate from the world, but they found a portal into the Underdark and they're wreaking havoc down there. And if they're not stopped, or if they're not brought, or if they don't, if they're not brought back into the Abyss, they will destroy the world. One thing I love about this is that Alice in Wonderland, like Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, was a big inspiration for the writing of this adventure. It may not look like it, but the Underdark is a very strange place. There's just all kinds of like wacky things throughout. Scary things, dark things, but also just sort of like, you know, dangerous things. But also, there's as much whimsy as there is danger in the Underdark. I don't know very much about the latter half of this adventure. I know the most about like the general premise as well as the first part of the adventure. So basically, I still have vivid memories of being part of the beginning, where essentially the adventure starts with everyone in a underground prison, that some elves have like captured you or something, and you are basically trying to escape with a bunch of other NPC. Like all these people are also trapped, are like imprisoned with you, and they are escaping with you. And they all have different like like plots, and like they have different plot threads that you can follow and everything. Um, and we went through like an ooze temple and stuff. Very like there's stuff about like traveling through the Underdark and random encounters and things like that. Um, and I believe, yeah, the oozing temple, we went through that definitely. And I believe the last few sessions that I played in that was in a place called like Gracklestug or something. Is like a dwarf. Yeah, Gracklestug is a deep underground dwarf city. But I didn't really get much. I never really got much further than this. I did use elements of this adventure for a homebrew campaign in which the players wanted to. The players were very high level, like level 17, 18, and getting up to level 20, which is the highest level in D&D. And so they wanted to fight the demon lords. And so I used bits of this adventure because this book has, at least at the time, this book was the only place to get actual stat blocks for the various demon lords, right? Like the demon lord of ooze, the demon lord of gnolls, the demon lord of the undead, of fungi and things like that. And they fought most, if not all of them. And yeah, so that was fun. Although now the Mordenkainen books actually have those stat blocks as well, which is very, very helpful. But I am glad to have this book because this is where my very first D&D adventures happened. The adventures weren't very long. My Dragonborn Bard character was not equipped for this environment. He didn't die. He didn't die or anything, but he was really struggling. But yeah. But I have those memories and everything, and it's good. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about those. Figured I would lump all of these into one video, sort of like the beginnings of 5th edition as well as my own beginnings of D&D as well. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, all the best.